everybody. Welcome to A Fern Between Us, episode 12, with our guest, Robert Mirabal. And...
we are two of the four owners of Bebop Winery. I'm Jesse.
I'm Michelle. And Robert is an incredible person on many levels. We love him as a friend, but all of you are probably more aware of his accolades, such as winning 2 Grammys, being in numerous films. Some of his flutes are even in the Smithsonian. So he is just rocking the house all the time. So welcome, Robert. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, you guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely.
And thank you, those of you that are watching. Virtual reality, non-ordinary reality.
Right?
So, of course, one of the big things that we are excited to share with you is the wines that we partnered with Robert to make. Here's the labels, which are gorgeous, and it's a little hard to see, but they have a metallic shimmer. They're just incredible. So we are going to talk about those a little bit later, but let's start with a couple of questions. We had somebody on Instagram that actually wanted to direct a question to Aspen and wanted to know how long her hair is now.
Aspen is, or Kona, she's around here somewhere. It's way past her back and it's down mid butt.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
Beautiful hair, beautiful girls.
Culturally, it's that's our hair as Pueblo people. Our hair is connected to our societies, our family, our ceremonies, and all these things. And the certain way that the hair is cut represents a certain time period or a certain moment in a man or a woman's part of their livelihood as they get older.
I did not realize the meaning behind the haircuts. That's very cool.
Neither did I. That's cool. That's really cool.
Well, you have 3 incredibly beautiful, talented daughters, and we did share the song that they have out from Spotify on some of our social media because it's just so remarkable the talent that those 3 are giving the world. So hopefully if those of you that are watching, you can find that on all of our different platforms. Make sure to listen to it. It's really just so beautiful. It brings me to tears.
Yeah, your talent has obviously you've passed it on genetically or maybe socially to your daughters, but you guys are an amazing family, and it's really cool to over the last couple years to have gotten to be get to know you guys and become part of your lives, and it's an honor for us.
Thank you very much, you guys. I mean, I was born in a stone's throw from the VBAC winery,
right?
And it was a rural hospital where a lot of the northern New Mexico rural communities would go to that place for clinical needs, and they birthed babies there too. And it was run by a nunnery, I think. I'm not quite sure, but I love that place. I love that area, and it's consistency. It's always, we're always together. We're always doing things together, and so I think that's really important for a family unit such as ours.
Absolutely. We do have a couple of questions for you, so I'm going to jump into another one. With so many accolades, you have said that farming is what really defines you. Why is that?
Well, it's because that's what I was born into. I was raised by my grandparents, and that's all I knew was, by the time I was of age to remember things and to feel and see things, that's what they were doing. My grandpa was an avid farmer, and so was my grandma. My grandma used to work at a sweatshop, like making moccasins, Taos mocks. And by the time I was born, she had already retired, and so she was just taking care of us. And that's what we did. We farmed a lot, mostly traditional crops, and we would create a huerta. Huerta is what is a Spanish word also that has been hybridized in our language, but it's milpa is the name of it, and it was small gardens. So my grandma would get everything from different fruit trees to different vegetables that she had never seen and try to grow them.
Wow.
And so it's part of our culture. It's part of our ceremonies. And in fact, tomorrow is our rabbit hunt, and then Saturday is our second corn dance of the year. So we believe, that if corn dies, if our agricultural way of life dies, then we are no longer. And so there's that connection from a ceremonial level and a traditional level, but there's also a part of me personally that where my body needs that. My body, no matter where I was touring, I had to come back home to put fields in and to put the gardens in.
That's so cool.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah. And so your grandmother also made wine, correct?
Yeah, there was a time when we had all the houses outside of the village. We call them the summer houses, and that's where they were basically field houses, maybe 1 to 2 room houses where we would move out of the village inside of the pueblo, and we would go outside of the pueblos to our fields, and that's where we would live for the summertime. We would haul everything from our wood stove, our wood cooking stove, to everything. And we would have ponds. All these houses had ponds where we would collect water. And we had big old trees that underneath was a pond. And I remember finding jars of capulin, jars of the choke cherry wine. And I said, let's try it. Let's see what it tastes like. So there was, there was that experience. We all knew what it was, because a lot of the people from the village were experimenting. Back in those days, the barter system was what equalized everyone, whether you were Hispano, native, or you were gringo from some other place. What leveled the playing fields was that we loved the fact that we could barter with each other. And it's interesting that those times are kind of foreshadowing today.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And so that kind of segues nice into the composition of the Mirabal Rojo, which has choke cherry wine from the choke cherries come from Taos, and then blended with grape wine that we make here. And you were the one that came up with that.
Well, you make the choke cherry wine too.
Right. Yeah. So
everything's made at Vivac.
Well,
exactly.
I think I've because of my traveling and playing music all over the world, I've realized that there's a certain level and quality of like going overseas, everywhere from Argentina to Ecuador to Peru to Spain to Portugal, and I love to taste certain regional wines that kind of affect me. And so when I came back home and started to work on this project, it was kind of a labor of love to some extent, because I really don't know what I was doing. But I wanted to create something that wasn't extremely just capulin or extremely just, quote, choke cherry wine. So when you guys came along, the machine started rolling, and you said, I remember you sitting there and saying, what, I know what would be perfect blend. And so you said Sangiovese. So it's like, whoa, all right. Well, I didn't know what you were talking about, but but then when the alchemy started, and when all that began to develop, I think that's when the magic begins to unfold. And my story unfolds through the development of ideas coming into fruition. And I think, a lot of the friends that I have and a lot of the people I have, they don't buy a bottle, they buy cases of this stuff.
That's good.
So it's been an interesting endeavor. We've lost several people within the whole process, and a good friend of mine, Trey De Costa, was the one who was really, really adamant about, pushing me and creating this. And he passed away last year. And I took his ashes to Portugal in a beautiful place, and I tried to say, well, what am I going to do with this now? And so I decided to just keep going with it. And so prayers to us, and we'll see what happens.
That was so incredibly tragic and such a huge loss. He was so bigger than life, and
totally magnetic personality. I mean, you couldn't help but just smile and love him. You know, if he was in the room, it was a happy room.
Gigantic,
But so now we because of that, we just decided to slow play it and figure out what we're just back off a little bit. And so we haven't burst onto the scene with the Mirabal wines, but we're
they are for sale at our tasting rooms.
They're for sale at our tasting rooms, and we're about to get geared up and try to hit it hard again, I think.
Exactly.
Which will be fun.
Exactly. Really looking forward to getting these wines in people's hands, and it's been so fun to create them with you because it's been such a interesting back and forth as we were born and raised in Taos in this area, Jesse and Chris and Dixon. And so to have those levels of story that is built into it, that you grew up playing along the Rio and Budo and born in the hospital that's right next to where we ended up building Vivac, and these levels of we've been in each other's lives, so to speak, for the entire time, which is really funny. And it's so interesting to come together and be able to have a really beautiful project.
Right.
So the thing I want to say before we move on to actually tasting the wine is I know that...
I've already been tasting the wine, babe.
Well, yeah. Robert, do you have something? Because, we're clearly sipping along, but we will get into the wine tasting itself, but I also know that you are working on a really cool book idea that you've been writing, and that was part of another aspect of your trip to Portugal. And so I was curious about that.
There's some, as I think the wine is what really solidified that, me going out to Portugal and trying to find, the certain through line of this particular novel. And so there is some uncanny occurrences. Who knows? Maybe my great-grandma and grandpa knew your great-grandma and grandpa. Who knows? But there is, I think living in the Norteño, I think in northern New Mexico, there tends to be a magic that people can't really grasp, but they can feel it. And once they feel it, they can never let it go. And I think us growing up there and our blood runs through those rivers, I think we can begin to explore and experiment. And I think anything that we do, there's going to be a touch of the old and the touch of the new and the touch of the magic. And so the novel that I'm working on is based on it's a historical novel based on a character. They call him the Dark One. They call him, you can call him Lucifer, you can call him the devil, you can do him all this kind of stuff. But it's based on a journey that I had with the wine and my travels and everything. And there was some strange occurrences that happened. So I decided to get my DNA tested. So I realized that I'm more Irish than I am native. I'm joking. That I have 1% Portuguese, so I went out to Portugal to really see what that all was about, and so I'm almost finished with a basic outline and draft of the draft outline part of it. But then there's a whole other process to it, probably about 500 pages of stuff, and knock it down to 150 pages or something. But we'll see what happens.
I can't wait to read it.
Right? It's going to be awesome, man.
So in our last few minutes while we have you, do you have a glass of wine with you?
Oh, we can open one.
Hey, you don't have to if you don't want to, but...
Well, I don't feel like it, but...
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Oh, no, it's turned into peer pressure.
You know what? I really like these bottles with the little air holes in them. Have you noticed that, you guys?
What is it? What the on the what?
On the tops of the bottles, once you open it, there's like little air holes in the foil.
Oh, no way. I haven't seen that. Or have I? I don't even know.
Now I have to find one to look at it.
You don't even know.
Oh, those little air holes. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I know what that is because if any moisture gets trapped in there.
I'm not talking about your shorts that you've been wearing since 1984.
Right? Yeah.
With the air holes.
They get nice and breezy.
So you were gonna say it's for moisture relief?
Yeah, in case in case this moisture gets trapped under there, they don't want it to mold, so they have the little air hole, two tiny little air holes on the very, very top. And I don't know why. I haven't looked to see if they all have them, but I know our capsules have them for whatever reason. Hey, there it is. Look, he's got one.
Yay! Cheers!
Cheers.
So since you're drinking the red, let's talk about that real quick, and then we'll come back to the white.
Okay.
So we did mention that this has a little bit of the choke cherry wine in the Sangiovese, and so while a lot of people are maybe even confused about fruit wines, sometimes they expect it to be very sweet. This is a totally dry wine that just has, what was it, 7%?
8%, yeah.
8% of the choke cherry. So it adds an element that makes it unique and different, and yet it's still a dry wine. It's very European in styling.
Mixed with our Sangiovese, it's got awesome complexity, awesome fruit. I think the choke cherry does a really nice thing to it. It kind of it makes it a little grippier. To me, it just seems like I don't know. To me, it's a really good blend, and I was so stoked when you guys came up with the idea or when you started talking about choke cherry, and I was like, you know what, choke cherry is one of the best fruits to make a fruit wine out of. I agree with you that we should.
The tannins, right?
Yes.
Yeah, lots of tannins and lots of acidity in a choke cherry, so it's to me that.
You know what? I mean, one of the things that I really like about this stuff is how well it goes with wild game.
Yes.
I don't know who's watching out there that are hunters, but you know what? This stands alone with some amazing elk fajitas or like some ground buffalo straight up burger, And,
yes.
I mean, bear. I don't know if you guys have ever eaten bear meat, but this stuff is like amazing with any kind of strong protein,
Yeah, no, we still need to go to your place and have dinner and have bear. We haven't had it before.
Maybe.
Man, you know what? Yeah, you'll go wild on it.
Maybe when all this social distancing is up, we'll get together and have a feast.
Yeah, it's been interesting times, man. But I think beautiful times too.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And we are going to let you go and catch up with you more on a different date. Thank you so much, Robert, for joining us and for working with us on this project. We love you and we love your girls, and we can't wait to be able to see you in person.
Yeah, if people want to have any questions on what we're doing personally, they can go to the Instagram page, Mirabal Reserve.
Mirabal Reserve, sweet.
Yeah.
Alrighty, brother.
Social media too much, but I love you guys. Blessings. Thank you very much. Cheers, you guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
All right, guys. So we are going to move along. Let me move this out of the way.
So yeah.
Is that actually out of the way?
It is out of the
Okay.
way. So yeah, totally an awesome wine, an awesome blend. At Vivac, we had never made a fruit wines for sale in any way, shape, or form. And
But you had made fruit wines growing up.
we had made fruit wines growing up, so we knew more or less what which fruits do well as a wine, and then could imagine what might do well blended with a grape wine. And I just love this partnership that we've got, and Robert and the Mirabals, all of them are just awesome.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
really cool.
And it's an interesting concept too. We have done specialized wines for different people, different places, different entities.
Yeah.
The most common is usually a restaurant that wants to have their own label on the wine, and so we'll make something for them. Sometimes they want something a little more specialized, like Robert getting involved in choosing a blend of his own.
I just love that it was his choice too to do this, and it ties back to his roots so completely and so holistically, and that's that was his main thing. He just wanted it to be have his own signature to it, which absolutely, and he does, and it's great. So let's look at this the white.
Yes, the white. Sorry. Now I need more.
She's finally drinking as much as me, folks. No, she trust me.
Hey.
Every night she drinks at least as much as me. No,
My doctor might be watching, and I only drink one giant glass.
3 to 19 glasses of wine a day.
He's lying, Luke. He's lying.
So the white is all northern New Mexico grapes, as close as we could get. You can't grow grapes in Taos. That's the one of the biggest. So as close as we can get. So the vineyard that's right there at our tasting room has Riesling. It's literally, we share a border with the property where Robert was born, and so he wanted it to be the dry Riesling as the Vino Blanco, the Mirabal Vino Blanco, and
it is dry as well. A lot of people are still a little surprised that a Riesling can be dry, and it absolutely is beautiful as a dry wine.
I think it's its best. I think Riesling is best when it's dry.
I completely agree.
But that's just me. Doesn't mean I'm right. There's no right and wrong here.
So I do have a couple of questions for you, because that's how
for me.
Well, you are winemaker extraordinaire, my dear.
Oh, what do you got?
So you and Chris, you made the Sangiovese and you made the choke cherry, then you blended them together. Mm-hmm. Is there or can you share with our audience, the difference between winemaking of a grape that is vinifera versus fruit, and what are the differences when you're in the winemaking process? Because there's a lot of people that are watching that actually like to make their own wine at home.
Yeah.
Fruit is the easiest thing to get.
Exactly. So, the grapes are a complete vessel. They have everything that a wine needs to be stable and taste good, all in and of itself. Almost no fruits get sweet enough. Grapes have a high tannin concentration. Choke cherries have a higher one, which is really rare, but that's why they call them choke cherries, because you taste them and they just dry out your mouth so completely that you're like, whoa. I mean, if you've never had a choke cherry,
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, that's awesome.
I am learning something from our show,
and they're
too.
tiny, tiny little cherries with a monstrous seed, so they're almost all skin. Skin is where the tannins come from in almost all fruits. Anyway, so you need tannins. You need tannins to make the mouth feel right. You need high acidity. Lots of fruits have high enough acidity, but almost no fruits have enough sugar. So you're always adding sugar, usually adding tannins. And every time you're adding, fake sugar, it tastes just not as complete. And then
anytime you have to add anything, those cheap bottles of wine that are on the bottom row at your grocery store for near to nothing, they add a lot of things.
Well, what they do, the problem is they're using grapes, but they add a lot of water, and then they have to add supplemental tannins, supplemental acid, supplemental sugar to
supplemental Cabernet flavoring.
Supplemental flavoring, and that's why they kind of end up tasting kind of bubblegummy and just not. If you taste a wine that was just made from grapes with no additives, it just tastes better. It just tastes better. So anyway, did that answer the question? Oh yeah, so fruit wine. So then but then everything else is the same. You would you ferment usually on the berries, or the fruit, with the skins, with the pulp, and then you would
and with the
filter
seeds?
it out.
I mean, like a chokecherry has a big seed. Did you have to pit them?
Yes, yeah, you should pit them.
That is so much work.
Yeah, absolutely. They most seeds contain some arsenic. So
I was hoping you were going to go there.
so you don't want to ferment with the seeds. And if you break them open, then they can have some harsh flavors as well. So that's not what you're looking for. Same thing with grape seeds. You don't want to you don't want to break the grape seeds either.
Which is why you need to be very gentle with your punch downs
That's right.
and during pressing and all of that. That's a really good point. And so Robert actually did a beautiful job talking about the pairings for the red.
I want to clarify. Grape seeds don't have arsenic. Stone fruits do. Stone
I'm
fruit
so
seeds
glad
do.
that you yeah.
So like that's cherries and apricots and all that. Sorry, go ahead.
So he did a beautiful job talking about pairings with the red. With the white, I think it's important to talk about some of the great foods that it goes with. I really like this dry Riesling with vegetarian tamales.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of corn, zucchini, wonderful flavors in the tamales that you can get locally. That
you go red chili or green chili better?
I go green chili on this Riesling.
Okay.
I go red chili for sure with the red. Yeah, like a carne asada would be amazing with.
I actually like a white wine with red chili too, but.
You're wrong.
I really like red chili, and that's part of my thing. Everyone's like green chili, and I'm like, yeah, green chili's great, but red chili to me is like, for whatever reason.
I love them both, but I am much more interested in the combinations of flavors.
Yeah.
I feel like the white really goes with a lot of vegetarian dishes. See, I'm talking about vegetarian and not bacon.
What?
Take note.
What? Better not talk about not bacon when we're talking about Barbera.
Oh, yes. So as we move on for a little check-in here.
Oh, check-in.
Yes, we have some super exciting news. Do you want to tell them?
Okay, yeah. An hour ago, Governor said breweries can open. And we're taking that to mean wineries can open. So we're open tomorrow.
So we're a brewery now.
If they tell us different, it's Vivok Brewery from here on in. And 50% food sales. Our Cabernet is now called...
Steak in a glass.
Yeah, prime rib or, I don't know, whatever. But so...
Just kidding.
So we're gonna open as of tomorrow. So we're allowed to serve glasses of wine on the patio tomorrow. We're not going to do tasting flights until we figure out, because it's table service only. We're trying to figure out how
this works.
that's going to work. So, but come on down, have a glass of wine.
12 to 7 tomorrow, and then we're going to start up this weekend with our regular summer hours.
Which is like 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Exactly.
You may see one or two or three of us or four of us. Maybe all four of us will be there.
All hands on deck.
All hands on deck, maybe occupying one of the tables and slurring in happiness. I don't know. We'll see.
There are going to be some restrictions, of course, because that is
bring your mask.
What we're doing. You got to not just bring your mask, wear
your mask.
We are in a state that mandates that you wear your mask at all times in public.
I think it's good too.
I do too.
New Mexico's doing really good with not overwhelming the healthcare system and stuff like that. So this is good.
And then you need to make sure that you're socially distancing so your group can stay together, but then you want to make sure that your group is staying properly distanced from other groups. We have separated the tables. We've measured everything. We've been preparing for this amazing day. Who knew that we were going to be this excited about just being able to have
serve a glass of wine,
limited service? So we are doing reservations.
Exciting. We're so stoked.
Yeah, we are doing reservations. So that's always a good idea, so that you have a table with your name on it when you show up.
Yeah.
You are welcome to show up, but it might require that you wait a little bit. We'll take your name, your phone number.
We've
We'll
only got so
send you
many
on a
chairs
little
and so many
walk.
tables. If we see that the demand is there, we'll expand and just have tables throughout the vineyards. You know.
We have the entire area bonded, so we can put as many tables as we need. You guys just show up.
Yep. So we'll see you tomorrow and
Oh.
the next day and the next day. No, what?
You didn't have anything else to say? No trivia?
No,
No.
I would just say yeah. I don't know where the. I was
I thought
saying
you
we'll
were
see
saying
you.
goodbye.
No, I was like we'll see you definitely tomorrow, the next day.
It's
That's
like, well,
hilarious.
it is just about time, but jeez.
Yeah. No, that's not what I meant at all. I
Gotcha.
assumed you got questions. I assume you have all kinds of other. Go ahead, baby.
Gah. So rude. So one of the things that we are seeing that is, here's some advice. Some might call it a tip, but it's that we are going to be mandating that you wear your mask properly. So that means that you cover your nose and mouth. So we have been, trying to recognize that people are with their masks. They're just not wearing them properly.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wear it under your chin, that's not helping.
It's called the Amish, by the way.
If you wear it on top of your head, which is amazing how many people we've seen do that.
That's called the yarmulke.
Yeah, it doesn't work. If you just have it around your neck.
It's called the bandana. What do you call
Yeah,
that?
I was going with scarf, but sure, yeah.
What about the nose showing? Is that the Pinocchio?
No, that's the Hannibal Lecter.
The Hannibal Lecter, that's right.
And let's face it, you did not get saved from Hannibal Lecter either.
No, he took you down.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
I mean, as soon as he
so to
got his
speak.
mask off.
but you know what we mean. So please, when you come and see us, wear it over your nose and mouth. This area.
What else you got, babe?
Did you think of a question for me? You keep saying every week that you're going to, but I'm also nervous to encourage that. So, do you or
I don't have one again yet this week. God damn it. No, I do not
You
have.
act like you have something to do, like winemaking. God.
Right? What else you got?
That's pretty much it.
Hey,
Please subscribe
this.
to our YouTube channel.
32 minutes, guys.
Oh my gosh, finally. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really need some love so that we can get that up and going. Share it. It's an easy platform to share to other social media as well. So please. And we are trying to post more video content on there that you won't find anywhere else. So, and the final thing is next week, I'm super excited about this. Our guest is going to be Ted Wired, who is a grief counselor, a phenomenal person, one of my favorite people on the planet. Mm-hmm. And he's going to talk to us about how to handle some of these stresses that we have during the pandemic, both opening up, both being stuck at home. If you have questions, specific questions, please send them in to us. We are really, really excited to have him on. He's such an amazing person and just so wise. I can't say enough. And we'll taste. Yes.
I'm pretty sure he's going to tell us that some of the best medicine is drinking more. Mental health, lots of drinking helps. I'm going to ask him actually.
Well, there you go. That's a good question. We already have one entry, guys.
My fellow drinkers, I bet we're not going to hear good news on that one. Maybe I won't ask.
Not necessarily self-soothing. A glass of wine relaxes people. It's just, 7 bottles.
Right. To excess, it probably doesn't help anything at all.
Yeah. Anyway, the wines we're going to be drinking are the Gruner Veltliner and our Sangiovese. So hopefully you guys can tune in with us next week. It's going to be a brilliant show. And thank you again to Robert for joining us today. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, guys.